Welcome to the Seniors Forum. I'm Nick DiTomaso.
I'm Catherine McLaughlin.
Our guest today is Mr. Thomas DiCiaro. Joining him is his attorney, Mr. Andrew Campanelli. Welcome you both to the Seniors Forum, gentlemen.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for having us.
Mr. DiCiaro is the gentleman pictured in the front page of the June 18th issue of the North County News. I don't know if any of you have seen this picture, but the headline reads, "Yorktown Gets Served." Mr. DiCiaro is pictured standing in the doorway of the old stone church on Mohegan Lake, which has been the subject of controversy for a number of years now. What was formerly St. George's Church, often referred to as the Old Stone Church, has been the object of affection for not one, but two local entrepreneurs. The controversy began with entrepreneur number one, Mr. Mike Palmietto, who saw great potential in the property as a restaurant, only to find himself in a sumo wrestling match with local government, who at the time was leaning towards having the church designated as a landmark. In 2005, rather than fight City Hall, Mr. Palmietto decided to sell the property to Mr. DiCiaro, our guest, whose vision of the ancient structure was that of a medieval monastery, when some of today's finest wines were first produced by monks who toiled in the vineyards by day and found solitude in living in a state of loneliness. Although he was aware of the difficulties that prevented the previous owner from fulfilling his dream, Mr. DiCiaro believes that the powers that be had violated his civil rights. Allegations ranging from collusion between town employees and elected officials who did everything in their power to thwart his efforts to open the old St. George Winery, to the more serious charges of corruption, have been filed in his $30 million lawsuit against the town of Yorktown. Mr. DiCiaro, could you give us a rundown what took place and how this all started?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you both for inviting us on the show. Back in 2005, I'm going to give just a brief overview. I was looking for a place to make wine. I looked in many places, most notably up in the Finger Lakes region and the Hudson Valley region. And I've lived in the area for over 15 years, and I know the building, and many of us have driven by it numerous times and wondered what can go there. On a particular afternoon, I saw a for sale sign. I went in, I looked at the building, and I just fell in love with it. It was a building that it just felt like wine. The building has an ambiance. It feels alive. It felt very good. And so even though I knew there were going to be some issues, I thought we could work through them with the town. And so I purchased the building. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Palmietto did warn me that the politicians would be coming out looking for some graft. His affidavit is a testimony to the amount of money they were asking for. I think he gave them a total of $10,000 over a period of a few years. When he sold the building to me, the town officials wouldn't even meet with me. I have invited them formally and informally over the course of the 3 years I owned that building to meet me at the place, to look at the business plan, and explain why this was a good project for the community. Because, quite frankly, most of the public supports what we're trying to do. And I wasn't offered the courtesy of even a meeting unless I went to a town board meeting or to a work session. And so we're sort of in the situation we are today because every avenue that I explored to try to open this business has been met with opposition, and this was a last choice.
Now, when you mentioned the word, used the word graft, that's pretty serious allegations. Was this, did they approach you personally?
No, it was quite interesting. Mr. Palmietto knows these politicians, and what he described to me was their relationship was such that they could approach him. They didn't know me, and so I had people who were both mutual friends of members of the board who have approached me and said, hey, if you want to get this done, maybe you should make some donations. And I actually had some people, which quite interesting, show up at the site when we were doing work, who I don't even know, who would say, I'm hearing having some problems with the town, maybe you should make some contributions. And these are people I didn't know.
Tom, I was looking through the papers that you were so kind to send me through, and we did do the research because that's what we do on this show. And I did see an affidavit that was signed by Mike, and it's important that the people know that there is an affidavit out there. And again, like you said, the serious allegations. Has there been any communications with the DA's office? Maybe your attorney can answer that question.
I will tell you, I understand I'm aware of the affidavit you're referring to. It's a sworn affidavit of Mr. Michael Palmietto. Mr. Palmietto attests to claims that he had paid sums around $10,000 to local officials at their request at the very same time that he had an application for the winery pending before those officials. I will tell you that in connection with with this affidavit, I did receive a call directly from the Westchester County District Attorney. We spoke on the phone personally. However, in deference to and respect for the County Attorney's Office, I don't think it would be appropriate to comment on what the District Attorney's Office may or may not be doing at this time with regard to this incident.
Okay, thank
You're seeking $30 million in compensatory and punitive damages. Now, is this as a town as a whole, or are these individuals that
The action is commenced as a civil rights action, a federal case under 42 U.S.C. 1983. Fortunately, under the Federal Civil Rights Act, if a local zoning authority deliberately violates a property owner's civil rights, they can sue, and they have the power to sue, each of the representatives personally. So the town board members that are being sued personally, as is the town, which is unfortunate because the town wants this winery. The people like this project. They want this project. And Mr. DiChiaro has no desire to hurt the residents of the town of Yorktown. This was a means of, or a tool of last resort. He had no choice. He tried to do it right for 3 years. They attacked him. They tried to punish him for reasons which are clearly set forth in the complaint. So unfortunately, he had to sue these people.
Now, excuse me, can you elaborate when he uses the word attack to give the folks out there, what does that mean? How did they allegedly attack, or however you want to say it? And in response to the people that do want the winery, I myself did see many emails of support for your winery. So if you can just respond to that, Tom.
That's a good question. We in talking with the town, they made it very clear to me that they would not do a zone change on that property. I've done an enormous amount of research, both prior to purchasing the building and after I purchased the building. And the current zoning, although it's interesting because that's really a business district, does allow for a farm use. And a winery is considered by the New York State Department of Agriculture to be a farm. And there are very specific and clear laws that define what a farm is. And under those laws, this winery is allowed to open in this current zoning. The town has some more restrictive zoning than the state. And so the state put in a process called agricultural districts, which protect a farmer's right to operate his farm. I submitted an application to be included in the ag district, and that was submitted to the County of Westchester. That application went through the process for close to 18 months, had all of the approvals necessary. When the town realized I would be able to open under agriculture and market law, they started an assault to prevent that from happening. And the way they did that was pressuring county officials. They conspired with Mr. Oros to send letters to the community stating that I was going to flood the wetlands and Route 6 and that I would have environmental impacts. And he did that